thank you so much for being here. You all already know me, Camila Brown. I'm the Director of Community at the Center, and I want to welcome you to the Networking Strategies for Maximum Impact, presented by Jacqueline Peros. She is of JMP Branding, LLC, is a Master Certified Personal Brand Strategist focused on inspiring and preparing underdeserved women to confidently seek fulfilling careers. As a strategist, Jacquie's social branding analyst, she's a strategist, social branding analyst, and keynote speaker, and Fashion Institute instructor. Jacquie provides clients and audiences alike a competitive edge through training and consulting in communications and in the importance of what she calls your digital dress code. As always, let's give her a big round of applause and welcome. Please make sure to learn a lot. Thank you, Jacquie.
Thanks. We're still in morning, right? Okay, good. Couldn't remember. Anyway, it is so nice to see some familiar faces and to see a lot of new ones. I think this is my 10th year here at this event, at this conference, so I'm happy to be here. And we are going to be talking about networking, which is one of the most important components of a successful career. Now, I was able to sit in for a little bit of last session's panel, and I think the thing that I walked away with, and probably you all too, is networking is incredibly important for your career, particularly in today's climate. And when you think about it, there's a statistic that said recently, I think it was Harvard Business Journal, 85% of jobs filled are through networking. Now that is a pretty compelling and important stat. So that's why today we're going to delve into the pivotal role networking plays into shaping your professional journey. And then we're going to talk a little bit about tips and strategies that hopefully you can implement when you go into the networking session. But hopefully you'll be able to implement them throughout your career and maintain those relationships because they're super important. So during our time together, we're going to talk about why networking is so important. We're going to discuss overcoming some roadblocks. I work with a lot of younger professionals or emerging professionals, and one of the things that they hate to do is networking. They feel it doesn't come natural to them. How many are great networkers? How many people like networking? Okay, not a ton, but if you have strategies and you go in feeling more confident, it makes it easier. So we're going to talk about that today. And kudos to you who loves networking. I think that's an advantage in itself. And then we're going to go through the strategies, and we're going to open it up to all of you for questions. If I don't get to your question at the close of this session, feel free to come up to me. You can ask me privately. I'll give you my contact information, and you can contact me after this. Okay, so networking is no longer optional. It's a strategic career move for you. The strongest opportunities are not or rarely posted on job boards. They are through people, right? They circulate through people. When you have a powerful network, it opens doors to hidden job opportunities, faster promotions, mentors, right? Influential mentors, and also visibility, the kind of visibility that accelerates career growth. So when you begin to build meaningful professional relationships, you don't just gain contacts, you gain access, advocates, and information about your industry. Okay, so what does networking look like in 2025 and beyond? Well, networking isn't just about job hunting. I think some people think, oh, I have to network because I have to get to this job, or I need to pivot and get to another job, so I'm going to network, right? Your network becomes an incredible, valuable asset. So it goes beyond that job hunting, right? It's about building a supportive community, right? It's about building and maintaining relationships with advocates and mentors, and it's staying relevant in your field. The interconnectedness of industries makes your network a very valuable asset. And then also in the digital era that we live in, where LinkedIn connections can be as powerful as in-person meetings, your ability to network and build those relationships becomes even more important. And having the ability to master online networking is just as important or powerful as attending live events like this. Now, 95% of recruiters source talent on LinkedIn, right? That's an online platform. So it's really important to understand how you can network online and not just in person. They're equally important. And then also, your network isn't just about exchanging business cards or QR codes. It's really about leveraging those relationships for hidden job opportunities. Because again, most of the jobs filled are through networking. So when we talk about one's network, it's important to point out two types of networks. One is an open network, and the other is a closed network. So a closed network is where an individual has a single pocket of contacts. So for example, if you're a student, your contacts, your list of contacts or your network would just be other students, right? Or if I was operating in a closed network, it would just be personal branding strategists. An open network is where an individual has various pockets of contacts from various phases and parts of their life. So that's, for a student, that could be students, other students, professors. If you work a part-time job, it could be your colleagues there, your supervisors, any hobbies or interests that you have, right? The goal is to always strive to be in an open network. Why? Because not only does it offer greater opportunity for diversity of thoughts and ideas, but it also opens up career opportunities because you become visible to more communities outside of those that know you. And there was also a stat by a study that was recently released by the Harvard Business Journal, and it said that it revealed that individuals who have an expansive and diverse network are 23 or 25% more likely to increase their income during their career. So there's a financial component to that as well. Because if people know, like, and trust you, right, you can negotiate perhaps a higher salary, or if you're going for a promotion, you can negotiate a higher salary there because people know, trust, and like you. So in my work with clients, there are common roadblocks that they have. And so I'm going to share some of these and give you some strategies on how you can overcome these roadblocks in regard to networking so that you can learn how to effectively and strategically network with more confidence. So a couple of them are, the first one is a lack of confidence in how to go about networking. The second one is about imposter syndrome, right? Not feeling you add enough value to the conversation or to an employer. The third one is not understanding your brand and the value you can bring to an employer. And the last is not having a networking strategy or plan moving forward. So let's talk about the role of confidence in networking. There, again, in this Harvard Business Review study, it said that confident networkers are 3 times more likely to achieve their professional career goals for the fact that they're more confident in connecting with people. So confidence plays a big role in networking. So you have a networking session coming up. How many feel really confident going into that? Okay. All right, good. We're prepared then. That's awesome. In the future, if you find yourself in networking situations that you're not comfortable with, or perhaps you're an introvert and you're not really quite sure how to go about networking in a large group. Here are a couple things that you can do to gradually build that self-confidence. First thing is to craft a signature introduction that feels authentic to you and doesn't feel rehearsed, right? And I urge all of you to go beyond just introducing yourself, your name and your job title or aspiring job title. In that very short period of time when you're networking, you want to be able to demonstrate your unique skills and attributes. So instead of introducing yourself as, hi, I'm Mary Smith, I am a production assistant or an aspiring production assistant, you could say, hi, I'm Mary Smith. I'm known for creating smooth workflows, staying steps ahead of everyone, and ensuring every detail is aligned with my team's vision, creative vision, right? So what you're doing there is you're showcasing your unique skill set, and you're doing it in a confident manner. So the perception is this person could be a great contributor to our team, and you've set yourself apart from others. And networking isn't just about speaking confidently. It's really about active listening. So practicing active listening is really being fully engaged in the conversation, having great eye contact, and asking thoughtful questions during that conversation. Sometimes in networking, I know some of my clients, they're in their head, should I be saying this? Should I be saying that, right? And they're not fully engaged in the conversation. So practice those active listening skills, because it comes in handy. Because the perception is, oh, this person is she's a great communicator, he's a great communicator. And they're going to be a good contributor to our team. And also, curate a diverse skill set. Don't forget you have interests and hobbies outside of the required skills for this position, right? Bring those to the forefront. It makes for an interesting conversation, right? I have a colleague of mine who she does similar work to me, and she is also a beekeeper. And I found that to be really interesting. And I had 25 questions about it. So if you have an interest or a passion outside of the required skill set, bring it up. It could be an interesting conversation, and they get to know a little bit more about you. And if you're wondering what beekeeping has to do with the required skill set, I don't know, I look at it as, wow, she's a risk taker, right? I don't know that I would go into, I wouldn't be a beekeeper for sure. But it doesn't have to be specific to the job requirement. My point here is to have them get to know you. And if you have passions or interests, if you ever notice when you start talking about them, you become more animated, you have more energy, and that's what you want to bring to the table. If you don't have some of the required skills, then perhaps you can do some online certifications. There's lots of these happening these days, right? And they're offering these not expensive certifications. So I have a number of clients who feel a void in some of their skills because they want to get to that next level in their career. So they are participating in some of these online certifications. So if you're in a networking situation and you don't feel you have that required skill set, but you're doing a certification course, you can talk about that and say, oh, I'm learning a lot about this, and be engaged in the conversation. And also with networking, setting tangible goals for yourself helps to give you a sense of accomplishment and confidence, right? So walking into a networking event, instead of saying, oh, I have to meet everyone here, set small goals for yourself. So you start to build up your confidence, right? So perhaps this networking session coming up, you want to meet 3 or 5 people, and then in a week you want to follow up with them. Go back to your list, check it off, and you'll feel more confident about it. Small steps. So imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is persistent self-doubt where an individual feels like a fraud despite all the evidence of their achievements. Now, this is not just prevalent in emerging professionals or young professionals. I see this in my work with some of the most accomplished professionals. And the Behavioral Journal Science has said that 70% of people feel imposter syndrome at some point in their career. So it's a normal feeling, but we don't want it to hinder our ability to network effectively. So what can we do to overcome imposter syndrome? Has anyone ever experienced this? Okay. I have too. It's a normal feeling. And I think it's because when we go online, there's a lot of comparing. They're doing this, they're doing better, right? We all do it. So here are some strategies that hopefully you can take away and remind yourself when you're getting those feelings. Know that they're normal, but maybe implement some of these strategies. Own your achievements. Do not shy away from your achievements. I have my clients write down their achievements, small and large, personal and professional. And I have them create stories around them. So I want them to highlight the skills, their unique skills that they used to achieve that accomplishment. And so then they have a whole portfolio of these stories that demonstrate their skill set and that they can talk about it without them feeling that they're bragging, right? I tell my clients, it's not bragging if it's based on facts. So make sure you're communicating that. Don't feel bad. Don't feel as if you're bragging when you talk about this. But when you create those stories, it feels very authentic to you. And celebrate your uniqueness. In a sea of professionals, your individuality is your greatest asset. And we're going to talk a little bit about personal branding as we move on. And that's where you can uncover what are some of your unique skills. And we can talk about that. And set realistic expectations. Just know when you're going into a networking event, whether it's online or offline, no one is expecting you to know everything. So it's okay not to know something. If somebody asks you a question during a networking event and you don't know the answer, that's okay. Just say, oh, I'm going to think about that and get back to you. And it's a great way for you to circle back with them and say, hey, I enjoyed meeting with you at this event. I thought about this question, and here's my perspective on it, or here's my point of view. They're not expecting you to know everything. What you should do in that point is lean into what you do know and the value that you do bring. So, oh, I'm not really familiar with that, but I'm familiar with this. Have you heard of that? And then talk about those unique skills. Don't focus on what you don't know. Not everyone knows everything. Expand your network gradually. I always tell my clients it's quality over quantity. You could have 5,000 contacts, and most of them will not help you achieve your goals, or they don't align with your values or your brand. So when you go into networking, don't think that you need to meet 100 people at an event. Go for the ones that you think will help you achieve your career goals or your professional goals. And mentorship is really important, right? So when you have mentors that you work with, they really help to guide you in situations that you're unfamiliar with or you don't know how to navigate. And they help to give you that confidence that you need. But mentorship is really important. It's one of the things that I regret, and I'm not that person that regrets much in my life. It's done, it's over with, you move on. Mentorship is one that I had never really taken advantage of in my career or even when I started my business. And I think if I did leverage mentors, I would have gotten to where I am sooner. But mentors could be good in helping to guide you and navigate those situations that you're unfamiliar with and give you that boost of confidence because they've been there. They've all been there. 70% of professionals have felt imposter syndrome at some point or another. So they can help guide you through that phase. Personal brand. I could talk about this topic for hours, but we don't have hours today. But your personal brand is essentially a tool. It's a powerful tool. And it's interesting because, when I started doing this work years ago, no one knew what a personal brand was. Even my friends and family, when I left my corporate job, what is a personal brand? What is that? But now it's a buzzword. And personal branding is a powerful tool that encapsulates your professional identity. It's the art of presenting yourself in a way that leaves a lasting and positive impression. So it's sort of considered as a unique imprint you make on others that shapes their perception of your skills, your values, and your potential contributions. And there are 3 important elements of your personal brand: authenticity, consistency, and expertise. So your personal brand should reflect your true self. Consistency is whether you're online or offline, your brand is, your messaging and your behavior is consistent. It reinforces your brand. It doesn't detract from it. So showing up, how you show up online should be how you show up in person. And also in regard to authenticity, just know that authenticity builds trust and it fosters genuine connections with people. So you ever meet those people and you know they're authentic, they're just a good person, right? That's because they're being authentic. So think about that when you're in these networking situations. Don't try to be someone else. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Just be you. You're unique, you're fabulous, right? Just tap into that part. In expertise, it's important to position yourself as a thought leader in your field. Now, I know you're thinking, well, I haven't even started, or I just started, I'm not an expert, but you all have unique ideas, and you all have a fresh perspective to bring to the table. So don't shy away from that. You do have expertise in your area. You don't have the 10 years experience, but that doesn't matter. Focus on what you do know in your field. But in the future, start positioning yourself as a thought leader, because then you become a contributor in your network. So when you look at your network, you want to make sure that it's a give and take, right? You don't want to tap into your network when you're working and you want to pivot to a new role or a new company. Oh, I'm going to tap into my network, when they haven't heard from you in how many years, right? And a strong brand really helps to enhance your networking skills. And humans are wired to connect through stories. So that's why I have my clients create stories around their unique skills and attributes and their accomplishments. Because when you tell the story that is authentic to you, it becomes a conversation, not as if you're trying to sell yourself, right? We all have to do that, but it feels more authentic and not as rehearsed. So make sure that you're creating these narratives around your skills and your expertise, because people connect through stories. And when you attend these networking functions, just know that you're bringing your full self to these. If it's an in-person networking event, you're bringing your full self there. So people can get to see, hear, and experience you, your personal brand, right? And you'll be more confident because you've already tapped into who you are at your core. You already have your brand intact. These are my unique skills, my unique attributes, and this is the value I can bring to your organization. And again, strategic networking in alignment is really about focusing on people that you want to connect with that can help you in your career or along your professional journey. Don't worry about the quantity, focus on quantity of your network. And building a strong online presence, just know that a lot of times people will meet you first online, right? Your online presence is what they experience first. So you have to make sure that your LinkedIn profile, any platforms that you're on, social media platforms that you're on, or maybe you have a professional website, they need to be cohesive. They need to support your brand cohesively. So digital first is a concept that started a few years ago, where the concept is that we meet people now for the first time online, and impressions are formed really quickly. Less than 7 seconds, someone will form an impression of you. So it's important for us to define our brand before others do it for us. And I know in the last session, somebody had mentioned that it's really important to look at your social media or your digital footprint. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and how to do it. But that's really important because when you meet someone, say you're doing a Zoom meeting or a recruiter, your resume comes across their desk, they are going to Google you. 85% of recruiters or hiring managers will Google a potential candidate. So you want to make sure that what is out there supports how you want to show up in the world and what you want to do. So to underscore the importance of first impressions and why they're so important, there are 2 concepts. One is called the primacy effect, which is essentially the tendency to remember the first thing we encounter more so than anything that we encounter later on. The second concept is called anchoring. So once we form that impression, it essentially gets stored or anchored in our long-term memory. So even if we receive data contrary to that original belief, what we came across, it's very hard to change someone's mind. We try and take that new data and fit it into our original belief. So if someone Googles me and they don't like, I give a negative impression online, but then they meet me in person and they think I'm nice or whatever, or they think I'm qualified, they're still trying to take that original belief, that negative impression, and put it into the new data that they have with me there. That's why it's very hard to change someone's impression of you when they first meet you if it's a negative one. It's hard to change because it gets anchored. So, we're going to talk about with ways in which you can do a digital audit on yourself. But let's get into some networking strategies. So the first thing I would recommend that you do is understand what your career goals are. You can pick and choose your timeline, whether you want it to be the next year, you want it to be 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. Write down what your career goals. I say that because that will direct you on where to go with your network, okay? So what you want to do is you want to identify, you have your professional goals. Who do you need, who's in your network now that can help you with your career goal, with your career goals? And then perform a gap analysis. So this is who you have in your network that can help you, but who do you need, who else do you need in that network to get you to where you need as far as achieving your goals? And then always add members regularly, okay? You're going to be going through many phases of your career journey, so make sure you're constantly adding contacts, but make sure you're nurturing them too, okay? It's important to nurture them. Whether you want to carve out an hour a week or maybe it's 10 minutes a day, make sure you're always connecting. I saw this article. I thought you might enjoy it. Oh, this is a great blog article. I thought of you when I read it. Just little intentional acts like that build those relationships for you. I've told this story a number of times at this conference, but I think it's a great example of how networking works. I was doing a session here, and a student she was graduating college, and she loved what I was saying, and she said, "I haven't heard any of this said in my school with my guidance counselors. I would love to put you in touch with these counselors, and maybe you can offer a session or two for upcoming students." And I said, "Great, okay." So I ended up contacting she put us in contact, and I ended up doing multiple sessions for this college, and it was great. I got to know a lot of great people. She was interviewing for a very big tech company where my husband worked, and I put her in contact with him. She got the job. I put her in contact with him, and he's a senior executive there. And I put her in contact with him, and they had lunch, and now she has an advocate during her course at this company. And I think it's just such a great example of how a good networking scenario can work, right? She suggested I talk to this company, this school. I ended up having a great time, adding value there, and then in return, I put her in touch with, my husband who works at this company. So always remember when you're networking, it's not just about what they can do for you, but what can you give to them also in return. Okay, so we can use AI to build up our contact list, right? Our company contact list. What you can do is ask AI, give them a prompt, give me a list of growing mid-sized companies in New York City along with their LinkedIn description and any contact information, right? And you can add this to a spreadsheet. And it's a great way for you to create a list of potential companies to network with and the individuals within those companies to network with. So leverage AI for that. Has anyone done that yet? You have? Did it work well for you?
Yeah, it definitely helps provide a lot of context.
Quickly, right? Yeah. So I urge a lot of my clients to do this. Even if you're looking for a job, or maybe you have one and you want to pivot to another industry or another company. It saves a lot of time. And then here are some ways that you can connect with companies just on LinkedIn. And so I put up here, this is Dow Jones. They have a tab. If you go to their company profile, they have a tab that says life. Not all companies have the life tab, but this gives you insight into their culture. There's pictures up there with employees. So if you're wondering what employees, what's the demographic of their employee base, what's the culture like, do they have events that they host or sponsor, this gives you a lot of insight into that company because you want to make sure that you're aligning your brand with companies that have similar values and can help you achieve your professional goals. So those are tabs to look into. There's a future work section, right? So things that might be coming up for the company that they are working on that maybe your skill set would be a good fit. Jobs and internships, they have it listed there if there are any jobs or internships. And then you can create notifications so that if there is something that's coming up, you can get notified. So make sure you're clicking off that notification. And I think, even for my clients, they didn't realize that there was so much information on LinkedIn company pages, but there is. You just have to know how to use it and to where to go. And also you can create some job alerts. So if you have an interest in becoming a production assistant, you can create a job alert for that particular company. So if something comes up, you can be alerted. And then you can search certain job titles. So who has a similar job title to you or that you want to have, right? And you can connect with them via LinkedIn. Now, to manage your expectations, not everyone is on LinkedIn all the time, okay? So don't take offense if no one gets back to you. But if you have a shared contact or you have someone who's third party and you want to have them connect you quicker, you could do that as well. And you can see that on those pages, okay? But don't get discouraged. Not everyone uses LinkedIn as vigorously as some others, so. And then you can look at affiliated pages. So there might be a very large company and they have affiliated companies. So perhaps your skills would be amenable to those affiliated companies. So you become familiar with similar jobs within different companies that they have. And you could add that to your target company list. And then you could see some of the recently posted jobs. What did they post? Gives you insight into the need of the organization. And if you feel you're lacking a skill set there, then maybe you can do a certification. and then the pages and the pages that other people follow. So there might be contacts on there, and you can see what other pages they follow. So this way, you can follow them, and you can contribute to maybe a like or a comment on certain things to get their attention, right? It's really about how can you leverage online networking to build those relationships and nurture them over time. Okay, so a couple of things, because we are early, so we can open up to many questions. But I have 2 career don'ts: fear and fine. Do not allow fear to hinder your ability to move forward in anything you want to go after in life, right? I know I've done that in the past, and it hasn't boded well for me. I can't, and the imposter syndrome comes up. I can't do that. I'm not good enough. That person is much better than I am, right? And so we become paralyzed in those thoughts. I know you're starting out in your career. Some of you haven't even gotten into the workplace yet, but don't allow fear to hinder your ability to go after opportunities, right? There was a study done by Hewlett-Packard that said women will not apply for a job if they don't meet 100% of the requirements, whereas men will apply for it even if they meet only 50% or 60%, right? So it's important to make sure that you're at the table. You have lots of experience, and you can pull experience from volunteer things that you've done. Maybe you belong to an association at school. Don't forget that it's not just about work experience. These employers aren't looking for you to come to the table with all these years of experience. What they're looking for you to do is come confidently and market your unique attributes and say, this job, I could do this because I have these skills. The other one is fine. Remove fine from your vocabulary. Nothing good comes from fine, right? If your friends say, how was dinner last night? It was fine. My daughter comes home from school and she's in 5th grade. How was school today? It was fine. I know something happened, right? It's just nothing good comes from fine. My husband knows when he's like, so what's going on? Everything okay? I'm fine. He knows not everything is fine in the house, right? Don't settle for fine, because your career is a long one and you want it to be one that you're proud of and not just fine, okay? I know that expenses are high and people think, I just want to get a job, but understand that when you get in touch with who you are at your core and you understand your personal brand, things become clearer and you become more confident because you're able to articulate things about yourself that feel authentic to you. And that's why, for me, personal branding isn't a buzzword. It's a powerful tool that everyone should have at their fingertips. And so I have a giveaway for you. If you go to this bit.ly, it's called What Is My Brand? You can download it. And it's essentially going to ask you a bunch of questions to help you uncover your brand. Do not think it's going to take 5-10 minutes. There's a lot of introspection that goes into developing and uncovering your personal brand. If anyone gets stuck or needs help filling this out, contact me. I'm more than happy to walk you through it. I think it's really important. But don't think you're going to do it just overnight. Take some time, look it over, think about it. So we have about 15 minutes left, and I'm going to extend an offer of questions or just anything you want to get off of your chest while you're here. Yes, I think we can. Do you guys want to do this or just? Okay. If you can come up to the podium so everyone can hear your fabulous questions.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question about kind of staying in touch with your network.
Yeah.
So I definitely have connections that I think I've just let slip by over the years.
We all have.
And so I thought it was a great point you made about not just reaching out right when you need a job. So how should I kind of like reinvigorate those older connections that I have now before I really need them?
You know, this is a great time of year to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say, hey, you know, I'm just reflecting on the year, and I realize it's been some time, but I just wanted to wish you a very happy holiday season, and I hope to connect with you more in the new year.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's true, because you don't want to leverage your network for when you need them. So you haven't talked to them, you haven't engaged with them, and then all of a sudden you need something. And then that ick feeling comes in where you're like, oh, how am I going to ask them to connect me with this person when I haven't nurtured that relationship?
Right.
But it is, if you go back to that stat, which is a really compelling stat, 85% of jobs filled are through networking. So your strategy, your career strategy should be focused on networking.
Yeah, I don't want to take time from the people behind me, but just kind of to piggyback on that, once I do reconnect with those people, I know you talked a little bit about staying in touch, like sending an article. This made me think of you. I've heard of people who send almost like personal newsletters about themselves every couple months, like what I've been up to. I just sometimes don't know how to do it in a way that's natural and not,
Yeah, I think that could be interesting if they've already had had a strong relationship with them. I mean, I think for a lot of people don't have time to read. How many people read, you know, leisurely? Okay. If somebody said, how many read newsletters? Okay. When you get to a certain level in your career, and I know this because I've researched this and I have been, senior people don't read newsletters. So depending on what level you're going for, that could be a great, fun way to engage someone or give them an update. But senior people don't really read newsletters. So there's other ways in which you can reach them. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to know your audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
That's interesting. Hadn't heard that one. Yes.
Hi. So for events like these, when we're about to go to the networking event or workshop, everyone has all these ideas. Everyone has their own projects they're working on, something that they want to work towards. So I'm wondering, how would you go about promoting your self-fulfilled project or whatever it is that you're working towards without sounding too markety, too pick me, choose me, too you need to put me on, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm just wondering, how do you do it in like I'm still confident with what I'm working towards, but also like I don't need, you know what I'm saying?
Is the project something that you think the company would be really into?
It depends on what companies are out there.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So I would say that you could have a conversation with them and say, you know, I've been working on something that I think is really creative, and I think it will have a lot of impact in X, Y, and Z. Would you mind if I just showed it to you? Mm-hmm. And they're not going to say no, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but you said it in a confident way, and you're demonstrating your skills right away.
Okay.
You could do it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Don't minimize anything, and don't think that you're bragging, because you have a very short amount of time with people, and so you want to be able to communicate that you're confident about your skills, right? And so I would suggest saying, hey, you know, I'm working on this project, and I think it's really useful for whatever. Would you mind if I showed it to you? Mm-hmm. And they'll look at it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good luck. Okay.
Hi, my name's Olivia, currently an MBA student at NYU. Can you talk a little bit about how to ask for a referral? I feel like, you know, I'm applying to summer internships right now, and I'm just starting to connect with people, and a referral can really get me through the door, but I feel like I don't know when the time is where I've built a great enough relationship to ask for a referral.
Did you just connect on LinkedIn and now you want a referral, or do they know you to some degree?
I've spoken to them once over the phone, and then have kind of emailed and stuff with them.
So I think it's absolutely fine to ask them for a referral, 100%.
Okay, so you don't think it's kind of you need to have a certain length of period?
No.
Okay.
No. No one has that amount of time anymore, so you have to seize the moment and the opportunity. You've established a relationship with them to some degree. You've had conversations with them, and just let them know, listen, I would love this referral because I think I can do X, Y, and Z, so that they can put it into context of why they're putting you two together.
Okay.
So just reiterate what you think the value that you're going to bring to this referral.
Okay.
So it makes them, so if they're going to do the introduction, they can say, oh, this would be, this is Olivia, and she is very strong in these areas I'm going to connect you to.
Okay. Cool. That's it. Thank you.
Good luck. Hi.
Hi. Ooh.
I have the same problem.
Yeah.
So.
I used to do stand-up. This would have been fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so I'm Gabby.
Hi, Gabby.
I'm looking to transition in my career, like from one industry to another, and I'm wondering, just similar to other people, some connections, well, actually a lot of connections have gone cold, and kind of have neglected also just that industry in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess talking about relevance, talking about reconnecting, how do you rebrand, or I guess kind of go back to the brand that you originally had and like reconnect and reposition yourself in that industry?
Oh, that's a whole process. That's a whole process. Are you deviating a lot from your previous brand?
So I'm currently, I started out, I studied, film and TV, and I was creative and connected with a bunch of creative people, and then I ended up in a job where it's, digital media advertising, very businessy, and so I'd like to go back to being a bit more creative. I mean, so I have those connections. It's just, and I still have the projects
right.
listed,
But I would focus on your transferable skills, right? And it's interesting. You just brought up something that I wanted to mention here, so thank you. The other thing about personal branding and why it's so important is because you don't lead with your job title or your job function. You lead with your differentiating skills. So it makes it much easier to navigate a corporation or a company, because you don't become known as the marketing person or the accounting person, the creative person. You become known for what you're really good at. So I think you have to go back to, it's not necessarily a rebrand, it's just reconnecting with those skills that you're really good at, and just position it that way. Not a rebrand, just reposition and bring up those skills that you want to tap into more that you do have, and use that with any reconnections that you're going through. But yeah, it's really important not to be known for your job title or function. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good.
I'm Justine. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, Christine.
You mentioned earlier getting certificates to kind of fill the gaps in your
Yeah.
resume. I've looked into those before, but I'm unsure kind of what websites and places to get those are considered reputable or taken more seriously. I'm wondering if you have any insight on that.
Well, it's a great question. I had a conversation with a couple of companies recently that tend to be rigid with requirements, and they're no longer that rigid. So they look at it, because I asked them, are there specific certifications that they hold more credible than others, or view as more credible? And they said no, as long as we know that person took the time and the effort and the energy to do it, they were okay with that. And the reason why is because once that employee becomes part of the company, whatever manager, whomever they have as a manager, sort of molds them into how they work and how the team works. So as long as they have the basics, they're okay with it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And when you do get the certification, highlight the effort and highlight I love doing it. I learned a lot going through the certification. So don't focus on where it came from, just focus on what you learned from it and that value that you're going to bring to the organization.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi. Sorry, this is very nerve-wracking. My name is Abir.
Hi,
A
nice
as
to
in
meet
the
you.
drink. So I'm in a very similar position as Gabby. I studied advertising and did internships, but then I'm now a college assistant, and so I'm trying to transition back into advertising, hopefully paid social, something along those lines, but I'm trying to create a new network. So my question is a two-parter. The first one is, how do I start the conversation when I network? So for example, the networking event that's outside, do I just introduce myself and leave it open-ended? Do I say, hey, like, I would like to know more about what you do? Or like, how do I start the conversation where we can continue the conversation going forward? And then later on for me to send a thank you email and continue networking with them on LinkedIn. And the second part is, how do I stand out on LinkedIn so that the people that I'm trying to connect with are looking at me and replying back?
Okay. So the first part of your question is, how can you engage in conversations during networking? Okay. So before you came, do you have a list of companies that you want to speak to? Do you have a plan on how to approach them, or?
I really was interested in just speaking to any companies I saw. I didn't have a particular list, but any that were open, that were hopefully okay with just having an open conversation to see where it leads us, because I'm not particular in anything with my aspiring position. I'm just seeing, are we a great fit?
Right. So I think for those types of questions, I think for that, questions such as, what traits do you look for in hiring? What traits do you look for in employees? What is your culture like? I think those would bode well for you so that you can assess whether or not you want to spend your time and energy looking at opportunities that they might or might not have, right? So getting an understanding of what they're looking for in qualified candidates, what traits are they looking for, what is their culture like, what are the values that they have as an organization, because that might help you become more clearer on where you want to go and what companies you want to work for. So maybe look at it from that perspective. Does that help? And the second part was reconnecting.
How do I make myself stand out on LinkedIn so that the people I'm trying to connect with are looking at me and responding back?
Okay, so on that, do you make sure that you have a great headshot? Make sure that your skills are ranked in the order in which you want them to be viewed. I would make your contact information noticeable. I know there are some of my clients, you're digging for their contact information, right? Email address or phone number. Make sure that's visible so that they can reach out to you. Any keywords, any skills that you have that are looked at as important for where you want to go next, make sure they are in your profile description and also your about section. Because if somebody's looking for certain skills, like if a recruiter is looking for skills, they look at keywords and what populates are those that have those in their profiles. So make sure you weave that into your story, into your about section, and also in your header.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name's also Gabby, or Gabrielle, and I was hoping to ask about your advice on finding mentors in respective fields that you're interested in. I know that we talked about your online presence being somewhat at least equally as important as in person. So is there tips you recommend in terms of visibility or being proactive on LinkedIn or anything about finding these connections, or is it more of just researching the people that you're interested in and contacting them directly until you get connected?
Yeah, so I think it's two things. I think it's, again, building your network. You can make a list of those companies and individuals that you think will help you achieve your career goals. That's why making sure you write down your career goals, and then the companies and anyone that you think will help you to achieve those goals, you have to start with that. and then look in your network to see who's currently in there that could help you, and then you reach out, you nurture those relationships. And then who's not in there, then you can connect with them. But for those types of people, if you don't really know them and they don't know you, they might not accept the request. That's just the reality of it. But you could follow them, and if there's a comment, if they post something, you can write something on there, right? So, this article that you wrote is really interesting. I really enjoyed reading it. Can I connect with you? Can I make a connection with you? And most oftentimes they say yes. But they've already seen your name, so when the request comes through to connect, they'll connect with you.
Okay.
So make sure that when you're on LinkedIn, you're also liking and commenting on content from those companies and those individuals inside the company that you want to connect with, right? Because they'll remember your name. People like when somebody comments on their in their articles, and because listen, somebody writes an article, it's nice to have somebody recognize the value of that article, right? And so if you're doing that on a consistent basis, you're building a relationship with them, and they see that.
So about like strategic engagement, so that they just remember your
Yep.
name. All right.
Yeah. And then it opens the doors to say, hey, can I connect with you? Can I send you a connection request? Mm-hmm. It just makes that easier versus they don't really know you, you send a connection to them, right? And also, make sure you customize your connection request. I met you here, I heard you speak, I liked your article. Don't just send a request without any context of how or why you're connecting with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think that's all the time we have, correct? I'm going to be here for the second session, so if anyone has a question that they want to ask me that I didn't get to, feel free to come up. I think we're starting in like 10 minutes. Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Jacquie. Let's please give Jacquie a big round of applause.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you, Jacquie, again for your time.